All right, guys, what is the story? Welcome along to your 420 news today. And I'm your show host, Martin Condon. And 420 news is brought to you by Martin's World. Guys, how are you all doing? Hope you're all well out there. I know I'm doing pretty fine. It's Friday, got that Friday feeling, and got a little something there to help me along with that Friday feeling. But yeah, hope you're all doing good out there, guys. Just before we get stuck into the 420 news today, just to give you a quick reminder that there's a Patreon up there now, and it's www.patreon.com/, Martin's World. So get up there if you want to support me in developing a cannabis community hub for kind of cannabis activists there. Bring like-minded people together under the one roof where we can come together, organize, meet up, and get cannabis legalized in Ireland. Ultimately that is the major objective of this organization once it gets up and running. So yeah, if you'd like to help me do that, that would be amazing. Head on over there. You can subscribe to the Patreon over on martinsworld.ie. There's also an option for people to make a quick donation there by Bitcoin also. So yeah, guys, going on from there anyway. Our news today, it's going to be taking us to New Zealand. It's going to be taking us to Thailand. We're going to be coming back to the UK, revisiting some news that we touched off there earlier in the week, and then finishing up back home in Ireland. So we go on. Let's start it off today in New Zealand. So New Zealand is one that we've been touching off of quite a bit, and quite rightly so. They've got a very important vote coming up very soon, in just over a week now. New Zealanders will be getting the opportunity to vote on the legalisation of cannabis in their country. Great opportunity to them, and it seems, if polls are anything to go by, that it's a very tight race there at the moment. So people who support the legalisation of cannabis are really pushing it now to get the public's support on this. So much so that the health experts have come out now, and they've published a letter there in the New Zealand Medical Journal. And that letter ultimately is calling on New Zealanders to go ahead and vote yes on the upcoming non-binding referendum. Now, keep in mind, what's her name? Judith Collins could get elected, and most likely she'll completely ignore anything that happens in this vote, because it seems like she's quite committed to keeping cannabis illegal. Why, I don't understand, because a lot of the evidence is to the contrary of a lot of what she argues. The reasons why she argues to keep it illegal. Protect the kids. Like, you protect the kids by regulating it, making it safer. Unlike prohibition, where you have a number of girls getting shifted off the hospital because they got their hands on edibles on the black market, because there's no age limit applied when you go buy off a drug dealer on the street. So regulation is a great thing there in that. So the kind of health experts that are coming out in this letter include addiction treatment specialists, they include public health specialists, health promotion specialists, and specialists in epidemiology. So a nice diverse group of signatories here to this letter. And they say that the referendum is a once in a generation opportunity to legalise cannabis and promote health equality. Because in New Zealand, if you don't know, the laws are unlike anywhere else. They're kind of unfairly applied. In New Zealand, it's the Maoris who are 3 times more likely to be criminalised and convicted for merely possessing cannabis compared to the non-Maori on the island. And I think the Maori make up, if memory serves correct, I think it was 19% of the population in New Zealand. But again, I'm definitely open to correction there on that one. So check that up if you want to be re-quoting it afterwards. But they don't make up as much, and they're quite much more punished compared to non-New Zealanders. Um, so there's also a Professor Mike Baker, who is a key player in the kind of the design of New Zealand's response to the coronavirus. So he's another health expert, and he's come out and saying that New Zealand have shown that it's a world leader in utilising innovative and evidence-informed approaches to complex public health problems. It's time to take the same fresh approach to cannabis law and put public health first. Our prohibition model for cannabis is outdated and doesn't work. Supporting law reform is about reframing cannabis use as a health issue, which opens up new and more effective ways of minimising harms. So that's a quote there from Professor Michael Baker, who, again, as I say, he's one of the leading architects in New Zealand's response to the coronavirus. So a quite intelligible guy, and he's coming out as well in favour of New Zealanders voting yes on cannabis legalisation. So well done there to these guys, taking that bold step out and speaking up in favour of it. Unlike the Prime Minister there, Jacinda Ardern, who, it's kind of no secret, it seems like, that she's a supporter of legalisation, you would say. But at the same time, she will not confirm that. She won't deny it either. But when you listen to her arguments and listen to her talking about it, it seems like she's quite supportive of New Zealanders voting yes. But she, at the same time, has said she doesn't want to impact how people vote by sharing her how she's going to vote on this. So that's a pity. I think Jacinda Ardern's missing an opportunity there really to come out and give her opinion, because I think her opinion is just as valuable as anyone else's opinion in this. And it's a missed opportunity for New Zealanders to get the opinion of their potential new the new elected Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern. The former Prime Minister, then, just to wrap up on New Zealand, the former Prime Minister has also come out in support of legalising cannabis. So well done to that former Prime Minister there. Her name is Helen Clark. Helen Clark had this to add to the conversation there. She said that policing cannabis is the biggest waste of taxpayers' money. So that's quite a statement to make there, from the former Prime Minister of New Zealand, coming out, saying that it is it's a massive waste of, if not the biggest waste of taxpayers' money. And I think that could be echoed on over here to Ireland too, where there's massive amounts of money being wasted in policing this, when in fact we could be doing something like Thailand, which is going to be the next protocol that we're going to. And I had the pleasure of spending a month in Thailand before, actually, a beautiful place. But while I spent the month there, I actually kind of abstained from cannabis use, because the cannabis laws over there and the prisons, I just didn't want to end up in them. So we didn't partake in cannabis consumption while we were there, except for one weekend when we headed out to PP Island, and beautiful, again, place. And while we were out there was a Rasta hut, I think was the name of the bar on the beach. And one of the boys, he just said, "Feck it, he's going to ask." And he asked, "You man, can you get us some cannabis?" And he did. And I'll never forget what an evening we had that evening. Actually, we went back, and as I said, we had abstained from smoking for, it was about 3 weeks before we went to the island. It was coming close to our last week there. And we were sitting out on the balcony kind of area of our cabin that we were staying in. And it was just getting close to the evening time. The sun had set, and the darkness was just setting in. And off in the distance, we could see flashing thunder and everything. So we rolled some up anyway, preparing for a bit of a thunderstorm to drift our way. And as it came our way, and as we were just getting a bit high, the whole power on the island went out. So we were just kind of sat there, like all we could really see was the red cherry of the joint we had rolled, and we were passing between us. And it was some kind of funky Thai stick stuff. And I don't know, was it because of the abstinence, not smoking for 3 weeks, like, but I got incredibly high. and the darkness then and the flashing lights of the lightning, like it just made for an altogether amazing experience. And just as quickly as the thunder and lightning came, it was gone again. And yeah, we had a decent party then under the full moon on the beach. So yeah, happy days in Thailand. But look, Jonathan, it was nice to stroll down memory lane there with you. But Thailand is making today's 420 news because they're, they're quite a progressive country as it seems at the moment when it comes to medical cannabis. They're not their prime minister, their minister for health, Anutin Virakul, Karen Virakul, Newton, Health Minister Newton, Health Minister Newton was down visiting one of their the number of state-run cannabis production facilities. So he was down in a facility that has a potential to produce 1,300 cannabis plants per harvest, quite a substantial a number of plants to be able to put through your facility when it comes to producing this medicine. And it's a state-run facility too. So himself and a couple of other cabinet members or parliament members from Thailand were down visiting the facility. And I have a little video here for you that I'll quickly just I'll flick over to there now in a second and I'll play for you. But it's just the health minister and the other members of parliament there out visiting this facility. I'll be back to you in 1 second. Actually, before we go there, let me just 100% make sure that I have the audio coming your way because I didn't insert it there now and I only just noticed it. So I'll make sure I get that there now. TE2. You see, you live and you learn. You don't make the same mistake twice, even though I almost just did. So here we go. Take two.
Elsewhere, it's inconceivable. A health minister, the man in the middle, aiding in the cultivation of cannabis. Anutin Charnavarakul joined the hundreds of employees of the Thai government pharmaceutical organisation, GPO, in this ceremonial planting. These shrubs will be used to produce medicinal products, completely legally and on behalf of the state. The greenhouse can control various factors about the growth of the cannabis. That enables us to extract large amounts of cannabinoids from the plants and reduce the cost of producing it as a product in the future. For almost 2 years, it's been legal to cultivate cannabis in Thailand under controlled conditions. It's going well with some of the crop even being exported. For now, only massive state-run facilities like this one can grow it. But the Thai government is already planning to put medicinal marijuana plants in the greenhouses of private growers.
So there you have it, guys. I hope that played okay for you. I'll check back there in a minute, I guess, as we finish up the show. But there you have it. You heard yourselves that the Thai government are making quite a bit of progress there, and even their health minister is down there partaking in this. Unlike ours, Stephen Donnelly, shaming you, man. What's going on? Come on, catch up with Thailand there and get out and get your hands dirty and plant some cannabis plants and open up some state-run cannabis facilities and hire someone like me, to go in there and help you grow your cannabis and get it out there to the patients, much like the Thai guys are. So these state-run facilities are supplying cannabis to hospitals and clinics across the country. And they're collecting some data there too, and they're backing up they're improving how they're dispensing this medicine to to their patients there. So very progressive things to be happening in Thailand. And as you also heard there, hopefully, Thailand are going to be they're going to have a bill before their parliament quite soon, which will allow private growing of cannabis across the country. So the health minister in Newton, he has said that the administration wanted to support with sincerity patients who need to use cannabis for treatment. The government have invested in growing, extraction, distillation, and as well as marketing of the cannabis oils for use in the health industry. Um, uh, uh, where is that part that I'm looking for? Yeah, the minister says that he hopes that this bill will help to boost the income of rural farmers who could grow and sell the plant. So there you go, like well done, like to this health minister, like a very forward-thinking guy by the sounds of it. He's thinking of his indigenous farmers there. On again, unlike our guys here who have their head buried in their sand. We had Gino Kenny put a bill before him in 2016. We had Ming put a bill before him in 2013. Two amazing opportunities afforded to the Irish government to be taking the lead on this, and no, sadly, we take the road of ignorance and we force mothers to march across the country to raise enough of public support to get these guys to even do the slightest um, in terms of getting patients access to medical cannabis. I'm ashamed to say that there's still I'd say there's less than 50 people in Ireland who've gotten access to medical cannabis through the ministerial license. And, sadly, Kenny Tynan, one of those patients who recently said that he won't be renewing his license anymore, and he's going to be getting it illegally now because it's too costly to get it the way the government are forcing him to get it. They won't reimburse Kenny for the costly medicine, and he can't afford to be forking out that amount of money every 3 months to be getting it. It's, as he said, it's cheaper to get it on the black market, which shouldn't be the case at all. It is only that case because of all the bureaucracy and the red tape and all of the bullshit really that just comes with medicinal cannabis. If we were to just do the sensible thing, legalize and regulate the sale and supply of cannabis, patients would effectively get what they need through that, because we could start eliminating the stigma, break down the barriers, get the cannabis into the hands of the health professionals out there. People like Nicky Darrell, an amazing herbalist here in Ireland, who I'm sure would be an amazing person to work with cannabis medicines. I'd love to get her own input on it someday on that. But, no, sadly, the Irish government just aren't anywhere near as progressive as the Thai government, And just be forewarned, guys, despite all of this progressiveness in Thailand, the recreational use of cannabis still remains illegal, and it can carry up to a 10-year sentence in prison. So, while they are progressive in medical cannabis, other places maybe not so much. And yeah, it's to be expected, I suppose, with Asian countries and stuff like that. In other news, guys, moving back home a little bit, we head back to the UK. And in the UK, then, I touched off of news last week, and it was on these jellies, these nerd ropes, as you can see here. Um, so, as I said last week, this was to do with a news story that came out of North London Catholic school, where it was said to be 13 girls were hospitalised, but actually another 4 girls were later sent to the hospital also, bringing the total on the day to 17 girls hospitalised in the one school, related to a batch of these THC infused sweets. Now, it's said that there has THC in them. I don't know, has that been completely confirmed? But the fact that these girls got better rather soon, like before the evening was there was reports that the girls were back to normal, and none of them were seriously hurt in the incident. That would make me think that it probably was THC, which again, like, lucky for them, it wasn't some of these other synthetic cannabinoids that are finding their way into some of these edibles out there. So they are quite lucky that it was actually THC that they got and not a much more dangerous synthetic chemical. But in relation to this, there has been two arrests made. One arrest was made on Wednesday evening, saw a 41-year-old man be arrested. He was arrested on suspicion of having cannabis, which is a strange one. So I'm assuming he actually didn't get caught with any cannabis. It's suspicion, so somebody must have fingered him or something. I'm not too sure. And also child neglect. So he got done for suspicion of having cannabis and also child neglect. And then the following day, a woman was also arrested. She was 24, and she's also been charged for the two same charges: suspicion of having cannabis and child neglect. Yeah, that's just quite interesting. Suspicion of having cannabis, quite possibly just has to do with them not getting caught with cannabis, and maybe there was evidence there to suggest that they had cannabis, they were selling cannabis. Then shouldn't it be suspicion of selling cannabis? Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't make sense of that one there really. But what it was interesting then is the school involved in this there, that Catholic school, they released a statement. They since warned parents that the sweets like these are being sold on Snapchat, TikTok, and Instagram. Like, this is no secret, guys. I kind of pointed this out before as well. Kids are by and large the most at risk group out there, because a lot of them are just starting out into the world of buying drugs, let's say, and they don't know anybody, so they're most likely to actually bump into the wrong person. Whereas, say, somebody like myself, I've been around kind of a while. I know not just to trust anybody, like, you would take certain precautions, you would try to get a bit of feedback or what have you. But some of these kids, like, could be just naive, young, vulnerable, and not know any better, and they're just taking unnecessary risks. Like, if this picture has any truth to it, and these kids are buying stuff for 6p, like, that's not going to be THC stuff. Like, those nerd ropes there that you see, I'd say that one packet is 30 quid, possibly, um, depending on how much THC is in it. Like, if it was a 60 milligram one, then it should be only about maybe 10 to 20 quid. But if it's one of the heavier medicated ones that they're talking about, are having 600 milligrams, then quite possibly that should be worth maybe 20 or 30 to 50 quid, like, depending on who you buy it off of. Um, but yeah, it's a scary one. The school also said that the kids became ill after they ate what they thought were sweets. So the kids had no idea that there was THC in them. I don't know about that one. I really don't know about that one. If the school really believed that, or are they just trying to paint their students in a good light? Oh yeah, no, our students don't do this. Do you know, I don't know. I wonder what Johan Toulousa would have to say about that, because she was that singer one. I hope I got her name right, but yeah, she went to that school anyway, and yeah, she has quite provocative songs, and she kind of raps about cannabis and things there as well. So I'd be interested to hear what she has to say about this particular incident. Um, there was also a comment then made by Alison Keating. Alison Keating is the head of alcohol, tobacco, and drugs. So whatever that is there within the health services, I'd imagine, or something like that, or maybe within the police service actually. And she says that it's an illegal drug and it can be dangerous, and so the situation is of concern. So, like, is Alison actually arguing for legalization in what she's saying here? Like, because she's saying it's an illegal drug and can be dangerous. So she's saying it can be dangerous because it's an illegal drug. So are we saying that, say, if you were in America, where in certain states anyway, cannabis isn't illegal, um, is it not dangerous there? Because there's quality assurance, there's like labels, you know, there's growing procedures and standards followed. Is it not dangerous then? Because there's an age limit also applied. I don't know. Is that what Alison is saying? So I think Alison there is secretly arguing for legalization and what she's saying. So just come on out of the closet there, Alison, and support legalization so we can more effectively protect kids from drugs like these so that they don't fall into their hands. You know, we put age limits in place and we best protect them, similar as we do with alcohol and tobacco, you know. So there we go, guys. That's my little update there from the UK news. And then there's other news there coming back then into Northern Ireland. Um, Up there north earlier in the week, there was a story, and I didn't report on it actually earlier in the week because I just had a couple of other stories to report on, and I didn't get time to actually read into it to report on it. So it's back in the 420 news today because the man associated with it was up in court. So this is to do with the £1 million worth of cannabis that was allegedly strapped to the roof of a lorry. Now the cops have come out and saying that lorry was actually a horse transporter, a large horse transporter type vehicle. So some sausage just never tied it down properly, and £1 million worth of cannabis fell off the roof. Like, so I think this guy like qualifies for the dumbest criminal of the week. Like, come on, like you had one job, man. Like, just strap it down. Like, and he couldn't even do that right. Um, so that fell off the roof anyway. This dude kind of got away for a short while, but the cops caught up with him afterwards. So his name was Nathan David Green, and he's a 33-year-old native of County Down. So he was up after, you know, the cops must have linked him to the cannabis through maybe his own horsebacks type lorry, I'm imagining. But he was up there then for the the cannabis, and yeah, he the only comment he made was to just acknowledge that he knew the charges that were before him, and he's to now come back before the court again next month. A bit anticlimactic there in that news story. But yeah, I just thought I'd take the opportunity to report upon it because they caught the guy apparently involved in it, and they're going keeping him in custody. Actually, they're not even going to let him apply for bail. The guy got caught with some cannabis. Like, you'd swear he was actually a risk to someone, unlike some of the other criminals that they leave out in bail after committing violent crimes. And you know, sadly, I just don't know what they'd be thinking in these ones. I'll keep an eye out for when this guy is back in court there next month, and I'll bring further updates on it. But I thought I'd just give him a little read out there because he won today's Dumbest Criminals Award for the week. So well done to you, Nate and David Green. Another story, guys, I reported on, I think it was on Wednesday's news, and it was on the 1.5 million drug seizure that was made by the cops there in Mead. And there was a 500,000 in cash and almost 1 million in drugs. Now, a breakdown of the drugs that they actually seized there in that was 570,000 worth of MDMA. There was 156,000 worth of MDMA powder, 80,000 worth of uh, cannabis herb, 140,000 worth of cocaine, 12,000 euro worth of Xanax tablets, and then to top it off, then they also found a Glock semi-automatic 9mm pistol and two Walther 9mm pistols, and these were found alongside two silencers and also 75 bullets. So, like, this is just one. Before I go any further on this, is just reinforcement for grow your own, guys, or know your source. Be careful who you're supporting when you're buying your cannabis or other drugs out there, because do you want to be supporting these guys really when look, they have guns, they have bullets, but also the gang that are doing this, it's a Lithuanian crime gang that are being known to be involved in human trafficking also. So your profits when you buy cannabis and you don't know your source, if you're not growing your own and you're not buying from a trustworthy source, you could be supporting these guys who are involved in this sort of stuff, like, you know. I only was got done listening to a podcast there earlier with Aubrey Marcus, and he had on a guy there who was involved in busting child pedophile rings and things like that. And I would hate to think that a bag of cannabis being bought by a rather peaceful and non-violent cannabis consumer, you know, a person who wouldn't want to do any harm to anybody, could actually be inadvertently supporting a crime network that is facilitating that kind of behavior, you know, where there's human trafficking involved of young vulnerable children as well as kind of normal adult vulnerable people as well. You know, a lot of the times it is vulnerable women getting caught up in this. But there's also, I suppose, there would be vulnerable men too getting caught up within this human trafficking. You know, I reported on another story there the other day about the Vietnamese guy who was caught in the house with the 300,000 worth of cannabis plants, and he got a 2 year sentence with 12 months suspended. Like, there you go. There's another guy who quite potentially was a victim of human trafficking. He could be quite quite potentially a staff member of this Lithuanian crime gang, you know, who the Gardaí say that the recent operations against them have done a lot to hamper their operations because they're seeing a reduction in activity. But are the Gardaí really just patting themselves on the back for the work of the coronavirus, which has slowed down everything across the board, you know? Are they're very quick to pat themselves on the back, you know, oh, our operation here had done a lot, like, but realistically, the way it works here in the underworld, you know, is that if they really have say crippled this crime gang, this network, there's a multitude of others out there who are going to quickly just step in and fill the void. And these drugs are, you know, they're a dime a dozen out there. They're cheap as chips, realistically, at source. And the true value is in getting them to the streets here in places like Ireland, where people will pay a lot more for them. And they pay a lot more because of prohibition, you know. So yeah, so that's just a little update there on that. Is that the gang that were associated with this was a Lithuanian crime gang that are associated with human trafficking, and they're also involved in the international drug dealing network. So again, guys, be very careful where you're buying your cannabis and know your source. You know, you don't want to be getting um you don't want to be supporting these guys at all. No, not at all. So that's my little public service announcement for today. And guys, today's 420 news was a rather quick one actually. I didn't get a whole lot of opportunity to cover a lot of news articles today because I spent a bit of time this morning in the greenhouse doing a bit of gardening and then making dinner, and I kind of got caught up in the whole Thailand story and the New Zealand stuff. There's quite a bit of coverage there to be reading into that. A lot of it I didn't report there because it would just bore the pants off you. But there's it was interesting to me anyway. And yeah, so this is the 420 news for today, guys. I'm gonna just finish off actually with one more piece here. It's another little video, and it's just a little favor that I said I would do for another kind of grasslands movement there within the Irish media scene. I suppose there's a documentary um, being released there by it's 6 Mile Media, I think is the name of the guys, or is it 6 Mile Dublin, and Le Costa Nostra are the other guys who are promoting it too. So there's a little video there of a clip from the documentary that they're supposed to be doing. So I'll just play that there and give the guys a little plug on 420 News because I think it's worth mentioning, like, you know, and helping to promote you know, the Irish cannabis community. So here's that trailer here from the guys. This is taken from the Le Costa Nostra, the brand page there on Instagram. So I'm gonna be back to you in a couple of seconds.
when something's like untaxed, unregulated and illegal, it can be grown to whatever standard they want, they can put whatever the fuck they want on it, and that's what brings about the negative effects.
Until this morning I thought marijuana was something to read about in the newspapers, not find in my own home.
Man was like, drugs, Thomas, like, I was just eating all the fucking chocolate in the house. That was it, like. You have to understand, it's not as bad as you think it is. Got into the biggest fit of laughter over nothing. I couldn't stop laughing. I was like, help me, like, ah. And now I'm smoking weed with this guy from South Sudan, this guy from Yemen, this guy from Nigeria, this guy from fucking Roscommon, like, you know. Because I mean, if you've been on Camden Street on a Saturday night, like, it's fucking chaos. Imagine the money for country. I don't deserve to get in trouble for this, like, it's obvious, a no-brainer in my head, like, you know.
So there you have it, guys. That was a little trailer that comes from the documentary from the guys. I think the documentary is called Fresh Chats. So keep an eye out for that one. I'm not aware of any release date as of yet, or where and you'll be able to see it when it is released. But I have reached out to the guys to come on the podcast to have a bit of a chat with myself and fill us in on what happened and what the journey was like creating the documentary and what people can expect from it. So I hope to have that for you guys hopefully within the next week or two. But until then, you know, stay tuned. So that is everything today from today's 420 news. I'm gonna pop on over here to the comments as I do, and geez, look who would you have it like. Very surprised to see this guy at the top. It's Dave. What's the crack, Dave, man? As always, man. Top at the pops there by getting the comments in. Thanks very much, man. Very loyal listener to the show. So it's if the former Prime Minister of New Zealand agrees that policing cannabis is a waste of money, why didn't he legalise it? It was a she, I suppose, but yeah, that's the thing with politics, you see. When that Prime Minister was in office, it was probably not a popular thing to do, whereas now it most likely is a popular thing to do, and politicians are more and more by the day seeing this, and there's more and more of them becoming supportive of the legalization of cannabis. You know, I've spoken to politicians here in Ireland. Padraig O'Sullivan, he's a Fianna Fáiler, and he said to me he supports the legalization of cannabis, but he does nothing for it. Like it's just it baffles me, you know. I was out at the count when it was the by-election back in November 2019, and I was there as other independents were getting eliminated before me. Do you know, I was the last of the independents to get eliminated in that, and I was hanging in there, and I was going around, and I was getting kind of congratulated by some of the other guys there, for just kind of putting my neck out there and what have you, and yeah, I was chatting with Padraig O'Sullivan, and I was just kind of saying it to him, you know, I only ran on this because when I got out of prison about, was it 2014, 6 years ago now, I got in touch with him. And I got in touch with him then because he was a local councillor, and I wanted some help to raise awareness about the struggle that I had just been through when I had been put in Cork prison for 5 bloody days, just because I wouldn't pay a fine for cannabis and I didn't want to go to court anymore for it. I just refused to show up in court. There was a bench warrant put out for me. They were looking for me for over 2 years. They finally caught up at me, and I had to do 5 days in Cork prison. I actually was supposed to do 2 months there, but I got out after 5 days. They made me sign on then every day at Mayfield Garda Station for the remaining month, which was bloody horrible. But I was saying it to Padraig, you know, if you had helped me back then, I wouldn't be here now today. I would be, you know, maybe a part of the Fianna Fáil campaign or whatever it was. I don't know, because he might have been even independent back then himself. I can't remember, and I think he might have been Fianna Fáil actually even then. But you know, I was saying to him he could have supported it then, but he didn't. And why didn't he? And he was saying, well, you know, it's just not a popular thing. You have to get votes and da da da. And I was just like, so basically, you hide these parts of you because you would lose votes if you were to share them. And to me, like, that's just straight up dishonesty. Like, I absolutely hate that from him. I had a video there before as well, after a meeting with Ken O'Flynn, another local councillor here in Cork, and I thought I might have got like a bit more of progress out of him, like, you know, a bit more of a progressive view, because he's a gay man, and he is as a husband, I think, or he is a partner anyway, and you know, he should understand what it's like to be discriminated against, and to not have people to speak out in support of you because of it not being a popular thing to do. You know, surely as a gay man, you would understand that back in Ireland when it was illegal and it wasn't a popular thing to be speaking out in favour of, you know, surely you would understand and be able to relate to that. But no, instead, actually, you just continue that in your own way. He admitted to me that he too agrees with the legalization of cannabis, but the people who support him wouldn't vote for him. At least he would lose a lot of his voters if he was to come out in support of it, because, as he said, people are just not ready yet. Are just not ready yet. Like, we're not ready for common sense. We're not ready for more effective policing, more effective policing in our communities. We're not ready for less discriminatory drug laws. Like, what aren't we ready for? I just didn't understand that. Like, I done a live video afterwards, and I actually broke down and kind of crying. Like, I got rather emotional that morning, just because of just reliving that whole experience, like sharing with him all of the pain and the trauma that I went through, when I was criminalized and put in prison, taken away from my family, you know, just my freedom taken away for what? For cannabis, for my personal choice that affects nobody else, and for standing up and for that very same right. I had to be locked up, like, and yeah, that made me rather emotional that day, like, so. Yeah, you know, it isn't any surprise there then that the former Prime Minister of New Zealand, like, will come out now in support of it because it's a popular thing to do, but when, yeah, as you so rightly say, when they were in power, they did nothing. So, like, yeah, that's just the highlight to Stephen Donnelly now, man. You're in power. Like, you came out there in 2017 when you were an independent and you supported cannabis legalization. Now you're a fucking health minister, man, and you're doing nothing. Like, where the hell are you? At least Thailand's prime minister is down planting cannabis plants and sponsoring state-run cannabis growing facilities and producing medicine for the patients there. As I said, Kenny Kynan, a patient here, has to disband his license, and he has to go down the illegal route now to get his medicine, because the ways in which the Irish government are allowing patients to access it is just ineffective. Going getting it illegally is actually more effective, sadly, for them. So, like, that's just the sad situation, the reality of the world we live in today. And nice one again there for updating me on the quality of the video and the sound. Nice one, man. Appreciate it. Glad it worked. Yes. Very expensive mistake. Yeah, certainly is. Certainly is. King Green, no relation. Yeah, he's no relation to you there. You're on about your man Nathan, or dumbest criminal today. Lucky you, Ken, not related to this guy. And Teresa, don't worry if you missed it. It'll all be available there again afterwards, and it will be uploaded to YouTube as well. I don't know, will I go back and take out that little hiccup? Or we'll see. We'll see. But guys, that is today's 420 news. I hope you've all enjoyed it. I know, as always, I definitely enjoy doing these shows. I enjoy the preparation for them. I hope it comes across well on your own side. I know a lot of it is just reading news articles and just relaying that information back to yourselves again. But as I say, I am taking notes of people here who I hope to follow up with and get in for some more extensive interviews, and to just get down into the nitty gritty of things with people on particular topics, you know. And guys, for those of you who've hung around long enough actually this evening, you get the pleasure of knowing that on Thursday next week, it's penciled into my diary anyway. I'm going to get to sit down and have a good chat with a buddy I met there back in, geez, was it 2017? It was Danny Nemu, the Reverend Danny Nemu, and he's coming to speak with me about drugs in the Bible. So cannabis and other drugs in the Bible. So Danny Nemu has done a quite extensive bit of work there, covering all of the different places and references in the Bible to cannabis and other drugs. Um, an amazing talk he gave in UCC, a talk that was organised by the Students for Sensible Drug Policy. At even a time that I was a member there, actually, it was done in partnership with CIT and the UCC Students for Sensible Drug Policy. So I look forward to having him on next week to have a good old chat about cannabis and other drugs, including psychedelics like dimethyltryptamine. Danny Nemu was a member of the Daime Church in, I think it's in Japan. He was a member of that church. So the Daime Church are basically a church that are around the use of DMT, dimethyltryptamine, and he has also spent quite a bit of time in the Amazon jungle and with different shamans there working with this sacred and traditional medicine. So, guys, until next week, I guess, until next Monday, I will see you then. Oh, and actually, there's another interview that might be happening Sunday. I might be jumping the gun announcing this one, whether it's to happen or not. But it's going to be myself, Graham DeBarra, who I've had on a podcast before, and Richie Sheehy, who, if you don't know, is a comedian here in Ireland. And yeah, the three of us are going to come on and have a chat there about the recent revelations that UCC have a long-standing agreement with the Gardaí, where they take the students' cards, lock them out of essential services in the college for students' work, and they also then extort the students for €75 to get the student card back and privileges, the student services open back up to them, services such as library access. So they're going to come on and talk about that, share their experiences. Both of those lads were stopped and searched by Gardaí back while they were students in UCC. So that's something to be looking forward to as well. That's going to be taking place on Sunday night. Hopefully I'll have the video all put together there and released then on Monday morning going well. Maybe if we're going very, very well, we might get it out on Sunday night. But maybe not with the speed of rendering there of my laptop. So guys, that is it now. Finally, that's the final wrapping up today. I'm gonna spark this one up for you. It's Friday, lads, and you've been listening to 420 News. With your news anchor, Martin Condon, and the 420 News is brought to you by Martin's World. So guys, until next time, keep her lit, stay blazed, stay safe, and have a good weekend, guys. Peace.